I recognize the gentlelady from California, Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Administrator Power, for being here and for all of your work in what I know is an incredibly difficult global challenges right now. I first wanted to ask you about your localization agenda that I was so excited when you announced. I was really proud that this committee last month passed my Locally Led Development and Humanitarian Response Act on a bipartisan basis, which would institutionalize reforms that would make it easier for USAID to work with local partners. Can you discuss how this bill would enable USAID to work more with local organizations?
Well, thank you. I sometimes feel like you know more about localization than I do, so I feel like I should defer. But this has been a huge priority. As you know, we're making these giant investments. We do not want our investments and the good that they do to end when large international organizations or contracting partners depart, or when a contract or a grant expires. So I think accessibility is one of the things that your bill has emphasized, translating requests for proposals into multiple languages. I think, artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, are going to make it more easy for local organizations to understand what we're looking for and to respond. Raising the de minimis rate for assistance to 15% would mean that these small organizations who don't have the big accounting firms and the lawyers, to compete for our assistance, get some overhead and, have the ability as well to invest in their own capacity. And then we're still working on SAM registration, which you have emphasized as well, making that easier. I've been in a situation where a war breaks out or Putin does something horrible, and we see a local organization that we would love to work with, but the barriers to entry through the SAM process are just too high. And then lastly, what I also incredibly grateful for potentially allowing the restriction of competition to local organizations for acquisition. We can already do that for assistance, but to extend that to acquisition is really important. So grateful for all.
Thank you. I now want to turn to the dire situation in Sudan. I just returned from the Chad-Sudanese border, where I heard directly from Sudanese refugees about the terrible situation that they are fleeing. April 15th will be 1 year since the war started. We've seen 25 million people need aid. Tens of millions of people have been forced from their homes. Without the supplemental passing, U.S. humanitarian assistance faces a 40% cut, and we heard that the World Food Program may be unable to serve any Sudanese refugees in Chad starting this month. Can you discuss the challenges to humanitarian funding and access in Sudan right now, and what no supplemental would mean for the Sudanese people?
Well, last year, thanks to the generosity of people here and the taxpayer, we USAID were able to provide $600 million in funding, which is, I'm really proud that we were able to do that, but also horrified that a country that is entirely capable of feeding itself and a population that's immensely educated and dynamic, is stuck because of these two fighters, military men who decided to put their own lust for power above the welfare of their people. The U.S. government as a whole gave close to $1 billion and invested that in just keeping people alive. This is no way to live. Let me put it that way. But even with those resources, both Hekmeti and General Burhan have imposed abominable restrictions on our humanitarian aid partners. I mean, whether it's, delaying visas or, having these long convoys of resources where there are starving people, just up ahead, and refusing to allow those convoys to pass. This is something, again, that we raise again and again. Special Envoy Perriello now is taking up this charge full-time and engaging with both parties. There's been, again, modest progress in getting at least some access. But to lose the supplemental means falling off a cliff. And if the new UN Special Envoy are able to press and secure access, how tragic would it be that we finally get the access we need and then don't have the resources to actually fund WFP or UNICEF?
Absolutely. And just in my remaining time, I just want to say, I know Ms. Wild asked you about 620I. My reading of the National Security Memorandum 20 is that it actually has a different standard. The standard is that not only does our partner country have to not inhibit aid, but actually has to facilitate and not arbitrarily deny the delivery of any U.S.-supported international efforts to provide humanitarian assistance. Would you say that, given your experience right now, that Israel is in compliance in facilitating the delivery of U.S.-supported international efforts to provide humanitarian assistance?
Well, first, I would say that I think 620I is covered by the higher standard in the National Security Memorandum. So I think that's what is meant. And again, the Secretary is managing that process. USAID has provided input on that question, but we will have to await the report in early May. A number of commitments have been made. They need to be implemented with haste.
Thank you.